Hi, as I've explained in other videos, when you raise funds for charities and social causes through your business, cause marketing legislation may apply. And so in today's short video, I'm going to talk you through the 7 best cause marketing practices that I've defined to help ensure that you put yourself in the best place to comply with legislation where it does exist, and actually just so that you adopt best practice even if you aren't needing to follow any particular legislation and compliance. So, what are these best practices? Well, the first one is complying with the law. So that is about going out and double checking what cause marketing legislation applies to you in the country that you operate, that governs business fundraising in relation to the type of cause that you are wanting to support, and any other aspects, anything else that you feel you might need to check for the country or state that you actually live in. If you are doing something that's more international, you may actually also need to check the legislation that applies to the other countries that come within the scope of your cause marketing campaign. So obviously complying with the law is really important, but it isn't anything to actually be scared of. You know, it was put in place really to protect consumers and also so that it can actually protect charities in terms of their brand, if you like, as a charity, so that they know who is out and about fundraising for them and they are in some way overseeing the activities. So the legislation is there to, I see it really as a guiding hand. It was a shock when I first discovered it, but I do see it now as a guiding hand in working towards best practice for us and the causes that we support. So go off and double check the legislation that applies. You can search on Google through things like cause marketing legislation. I am in the UK and I know, for instance, that the legislation in the UK is much tighter when I'm raising funds for a registered charity than it is for a social enterprise or other type of cause that I want to support. Now, in some ways that's ridiculous because that could tempt me to actually be doing more fundraising for social enterprises and social causes rather than charities. But I have chosen to actually apply best practice no matter what type of cause I support, and simply there's just the one or two things that would make it different in terms of how I would actually monitor what I'm doing and the different steps I need to put in place for different types of campaigns. In the US, there are actually different laws and legislation across all the different states, so you need to be double checking what you're doing across the scope of all the states, but certainly the state that you actually live in. Which brings me on to the second best practice, which is to file and register your cause marketing campaign if you live in a country or state that requires that. Now, that isn't something that applies to me specifically, but it certainly applies in a number of the US states, and if you live in a different country, it may apply to you there. So again, just double check the law and make sure that you actually file and register the cause marketing that you're actually doing. The third best practice comes to the putting an agreement in place with the cause that you want to support. So, for instance, you get what is called cause marketing agreements. If you are going to be supporting an established charity, then the chances are they will already have cause marketing agreements and fundraiser guidelines in place that they can give you. So the first thing to do when you actually think about raising funds for a particular charity or cause is to contact them, let them know what you're thinking, what you'd like to do, ask them if they have any signed agreement they would like you to sign, or do they have any kind of parameters or guidelines that they would like you to follow when you mention them in your marketing. So definitely go about getting the agreement. Again, the agreement covers all sorts of basic practicalities, like how do you collect the money, how do you pay the money to them. So it's nothing to be scared of. It's actually just prudent business practice, to be perfectly honest, to have some kind of agreement with how you're going to fundraise funds for this charity, but also partner with the charity and make sure you get the funds to them in the most tax efficient way and as promptly as possible. So the fourth best practice is around transparency, in terms about being transparent at all aspects of your cause marketing campaign. So let me give you an example. Quite often I hear people talk about donating a percentage of sales or profit to a cause. That is not transparent. because, and one of the reasons the regulators don't like that is that consumers have no idea how much you are going to be donating. When you say a percentage of profit, there's two things there. They have no idea what the costs are, and it does assume you're going to make a profit. So a far more transparent approach is to actually state the actual amount that you are going to be donating from every single sale that goes through. Now, you may think that this is, some people do think this is going too far, but there have been cases where companies have said they're going to donate a percentage of profits to causes and then donated nothing because they have run at a loss. So it's really important you think about, any marketing that you're doing where you're introducing a charitable component. Ask yourself, am I being as transparent as I need to be in order for the people who are reading this to understand what I'm going to be donating? When I'm now running fundraising events, while I do generally donate all profits of events to a particular cause or charity, I don't state that anymore in my marketing. What I do is I work out how much I know I will donate for every sale that I make, and I now actually state that for every sale I will donate a specific amount, or I'll do a certain thing. And so the consumer completely understands what is going to happen when they buy. So that's, and the reality actually is in that situation for me, I do actually still donate the full profits, if you like. It's just what I'm communicating to the consumer that's different. So I know that in most times my donations are much more than the stated amount that I state in any of my marketing. So I'm actually giving more. And what's important is you're actually giving at least what you state. Obviously, if you give more, then there isn't a problem with that. So that's the fourth best business practice. There are other ways of being transparent, but that's just one example. The fifth one is actually about distributing your charitable proceeds promptly. So by this, what I mean is having some agreement with the cause in terms of how you are going to distribute the proceeds that you raise, when you're going to do that. So this is just something that, again, you'd put into the agreement and then follow through on after the event, after the sales campaign has actually happened. So making sure that you do transfer the money out of your whatever bank account you collected the money in, out to the charitable cause as soon as possible, and certainly within any agreement terms. To enable that to happen, that's where best practice number 6 comes in, which is about maintaining accurate records. So obviously, in order to actually calculate all of this, you need to be keeping accurate records of all promotional sales campaigns, the amounts that you're going to be donating, or the actions you're going to be taking upon every transaction that's happened as part of that campaign. Now, hopefully you're already maintaining accurate financial records anyway, so this is just a little extra component to add to those. When you maintain these accurate records, obviously it helps you make sure you're donating the right amount, but it also means that you have backup. So you have some documentation to back up what is profit for you and what is going through as a donation. Now, that will be important for whoever it is gives you advice from a tax perspective. I'm not going to go into that here because there's too much on that topic to cover. But, maintaining accurate records is good for you, but also from a transparency perspective, if you are wanting to share what you're doing, it means that if you're sharing what you're doing publicly, so for instance on a page of your website, you have information to back that up should anybody ever question you. The 7th best practice is all about helping the causes themselves comply with the law. Now, what I'm finding is that many small causes are fully aware of the potential to raise funds through the large corporations or from different charitable trusts or foundations. But what is new to a lot of social enterprises and charities is the awareness that they could actually have business owners, small to medium-sized business owners, actually raising funds for them. So they may not have things like cause marketing agreements in place. So it's really important for you when you're speaking to these, whoever it is you want to support, to be asking, what do they already have in place? What are they aware of? Make sure, for instance, that if the cause that you're wanting to support is going to get involved in promoting whatever you're doing, make sure they get legal and financial advice around that, because it could change their charitable status. There could be tax implications, or because potentially that might move them into more of a trading activity, which there could be legislation around. also help them if they don't have a cause marketing agreement in place, and wherever you live requires that you have one in place with with that particular type of cause, then be directing them and helping them work out how to do that. Now, obviously, I realise that some of you might not know how to do that, but that's why I'm here. And I do share a lot more information about cause marketing legislation and how to avoid it, how to comply with it in my Give to Profit book and through other videos that you can watch. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you do apply these 7 best business practices in relation to cause marketing, whether or not you need to comply with legislation, it will certainly put you in a good place for being able to comply with legislation in the future, should that become relevant to you. And actually, it's also just good best business practice. So if you have any questions, please do just get in touch with me. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out my other videos on YouTube and on my Facebook Give to Profit fan page, so you can check things out there. Thanks very much for your time. I look forward to connecting with you.